I'm a passionate, impact-driven human being doing my best to be a good human and a thought leader in my career. I believe deeply in building systems that serve both people and planet. So I lead with my heart, but then also with strategy and conviction. And as a woman in the green economy and e-mobility space, I see my role not just as a manager or a director, but as a builder. And what I'm hoping to build is opportunity and dignity and a space where previously disadvantaged youths, particularly women, can thrive and have real and lasting economic freedom. And I'm also someone who's deeply connected to and grounded in nature. So my love for the earth and all her wild spaces is what guides how I lead and why I fight so hard to have a greener, more inclusive future. So in summary, I'd probably say I'm in equal parts lion-hearted and collaborative. So lion-hearted as in driven to make bold moves, but collaborative because I always try and make those bold moves in community with others and the earth. So I'm obviously very proud that 15% of our fleet is female compared to the industry standard of just 1%. And I guess the part that I have played in that is that I've been very intentional from the very beginning about creating spaces for women, because representation doesn't just happen overnight or by accident, especially in traditionally male-dominated sectors like logistics and e-mobility. So at the Green Riders Academy, which is our last mile delivery training engine, if you will, we actively recruit women to become riders. And we've also built female-focused training cohorts, and we're continually working to address the subtle and the not-so-subtle barriers that women face, not just in this industry, but across the board. So ranging from confidence to visibility to safety. And I've also helped spearhead partnerships that focus solely on upliftment of young women. Like we collaborated last year with an organization called Shortlist Futures, which empowered over 100 women in various roles. But beyond numbers, I believe that my biggest contribution has been creating a culture where women feel heard and seen and celebrated, whether that's providing mentorship or giving our female riders a platform from which to grow or speak or feel heard, or designing safer workspaces. They know that they belong here, and I believe that that makes all the difference. As someone whose focus is social impact and sustainability, in my space, there have been many, many proud moments, but the one that stands out to me is definitely leading our team to represent South Africa as the official nominee for the Earthshot Prize, and attending the award ceremony in November last year. Attending that ceremony and seeing the incredible innovation coming out of the world was obviously amazing, but prouder for me was standing shoulder to shoulder with some of the young men and women whose lives we've helped change. And that reminded me that what we're doing is not just a business, it's a movement. And we've trained and placed so many young people into work using green mobility as a tool for economic and environmental transformation. So that's probably one of my proudest moments. And then if you look at just daily, something that I hold very close to my heart is watching a young person in a training program who came to us with no prospect of a decent future, no job opportunities, get onto an e-bike and ride away wearing a brand new pair of shoes that they've finally managed to buy for themselves because they're earning a meaningful income. That is what gets me every time and what drives me. It's definitely, I don't know why, but youths in their training programs tend to spend their first bit of money on buying a new pair of shoes. And that would definitely be what it for me on a daily. The most impactful way to empower young women in my industry is to, I believe, create real pathways, not just inspiration. And that starts with access. So access to training, to opportunities, and to spaces that are typically closed off to women. But it can't stop there. So young women need role models who look like them, leaders that speak their language, and systems that believe in their potential before it's proven. They also need government and corporate to come together and collaborate towards creating safer spaces. In the climate we live in South Africa, we have to be collaborating to create safer spaces for women where they can thrive and not be held back by fear and by things that are a threat to them that should never ever have been a threat to them. Added to that, I feel like that's a very obvious answer. I think we need to redefine what strength and leadership looks like. So shifting away from outdated masculine ideals to something more holistic. And I choose the word holistic because I'm not saying we need to shift to something feminine. I'm saying we need to shift to something balanced. So a definition of strength and leadership that is balanced and holistic. So things like emotional intelligence, resilience, creativity, those are such powerful traits. And young women in my industry bring those traits in abundance. And then finally, the most powerful thing we can do is listen. When we ask women what they need to succeed and then act on that feedback, we are showing them that their voices matter. And that is what true empowerment looks like and how I believe true empowerment begins. In my personal life, which obviously guides how I do things in my career, I live by a principle that says good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. But if I had to pick a quote that I live by, it would be a quote from a lady named Shirley Chisholm, which says, "Service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth." I feel exceptionally privileged to have had an opportunity to be on this earth. It is such an incredible planet with incredible things and amazing wildlife and amazing human beings. And my way of giving back for getting a chance to be here is through service. So I think that speaks to what Shirley was saying. And she was the first Black woman to be elected into American Congress. And I think it's a very, very beautiful quote about how do we earn our right to be here as human beings? And that's through service.